My name is William Dellacamera, and we're at Cecarelli Harrison Hill Farm in Northford, Connecticut. And we're going to talk a little bit today about what kind of practices I've started here on this farm to try to alleviate this drastic weather changes we have been dealing with for the past couple of years. Years ago, we decided to use zone tillage in our cornfields, which worked out to be, very well, stabilizing the soil. So to take it to another level, I've decided to try to alleviate a lot of the erosion problems and cover cropping problems and water problems, airflow problems that you tend to get with, let's call it row-to-row plastic culture, where you're putting row after row after row on a field. So to try to find a good option that I started years ago, I decided either I was going to leave one row out or I was going to make something to seed between the rows. My first attempt at that was to I tried a hydro seeder, figuring that was going to be the best option. It would be easy. So I built a 3-point hitch hydro seeder that went behind one of my tractors with a gas-powered engine, and it did a good job hydro seeding that row. It worked out very well that year, but it was too labor intensive, it was too time consuming, and monetarily it was going to be very expensive to do every row of 20 acres a year. If you were on an acre a year, it would probably be a suggestion, because it'd be easy. It'd probably be a good way to keep every row and keep it seated between the rows. But now you still have to remove that plastic, and at the end of the year, you still have an open field, a large open field, which we all know is not good in Connecticut. So I decided the next year that I was going to leave out every other row, and what was my best option to seed a cover crop between those rows. And my options were, I looked at some overseeders which weren't built tough enough to go through this type of land we have. On a golf course, an overseeder works, but not here. My other option was a brilliant seeder, which was going to set me back a pretty good amount of money, and at the time I wasn't looking to spend that kind of money. So we had always had this no-till drill, which is a 10-foot wide drill. So that first year, I conventionally, plowed and fitted up the land for the plastic. I laid the plastic every other row, and left out 6-foot wide paths. So I looked at this machine here, and I saw that it would fit between the rows. And if I took rows off the outside of my 10-foot machine, it would fit between the plastic rows. So I capped up the rows with duct tape, took the rows off. And that first year, I was able to go through the centers of every other row and seed it, which that is where I have to fine tune that to which seed is the best for that cover crop. I've used oats with clover on the first year, oats with winter kill, and it's not giving me the cover I would like. So I think I got to up the amount of clover seed I'm putting down, which that's a finer, that's a pretty, something to fine tune. That's something easy. But when I first started with interseeding, I was actually using a farm-all cup with a side dresser with oats in it, and that was working out very well. But it wasn't productive to the scale. If you were on an acre or two, a farm-all cup is the way to go. But when you're trying to cover, 20 or 30 acres, it becomes impossible. So now I left out every other row, and at first I thought my neighboring farmers were going to say, "What are you doing? That's you're wasting money. Why are you doing that?" Actually, I got the opposite. Well, we should do that, but we don't, or we should do that, but we can't, which you can. So, and I figured the biggest thing was going to be them saying, "Oh, you're wasting all this land. Why are you doing that?" Well, it's okay, but for as far back as I can remember, every year we said, "Oh, we're going to take this 10-acre field and we're going to cover crop it."
Yeah.
But we never got to it because it wasn't in our face. It wasn't on our plate. That was 10
the
acres.
second thing.
Yeah, it was a secondary job, and it was out. It got placed out of sight, out of mind. Now I have it between every row.
Yeah.
So now my thought is that at what time frame am I going to grow in this row, and then decide to move it on top of my cover crop? It's not going to be the first year. I'm going to try this is the second year growing there. So next year, I think I'm going to change some of it over to where the cover crop is, but I'm going to leave some of the cover crop land. So we can figure out what the rotation should be. And obviously, rotating to the new piece right next to it, you're probably better off for disease-wise and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know you're not going to want to keep crop on top of crop on top of crop in that area. So I think if I did every other year on the third year, fourth spring, that's when I'm going to end up putting my row onto where it's cover crop. So I'll have 3 full growing years of whatever cover crop that is.
Okay.
And that cover crop needs to be mowed. Like, we mowed some of this stuff 3 and 4 times already. The clover just, in the spring, it just grew out of control. It was 3.5, 4 feet tall.
Wow.
We mowed that off. It came back pretty nice. We mowed it the third time. The third time was a mistake. I should have left it. Once I mowed it that third time, it left the ground exposed, and that's when it allowed the weeds to start coming up, especially with the wet weather we've had. So I think mowing is critical too. I don't know. I've had some people mention maybe you should crimp it down or push it down, which it is possible, but I don't know what that's going to do to bring weeds back.
Okay.
I don't know if crimping's better.
Why do you think the third time it didn't come back?
The clover, that was the third time it was mowed. It left the ground exposed. The sunlight was hitting the ground.
Okay, it was more too close to the ground.
Yeah, probably too close to the ground, and it may have been too thin.
Yeah.
To be mowed. So I think there are two things I got to look at: is upping the rate of seeding and critical time to mow it.
Yeah.
Which there isn't all that stuff. So now bringing the timeline back, the first year. So we're in the first year. We tilled the field edge to edge. We laid it out every other plastic row. I went down through with this drill, and the row unit to row unit almost touches the plastic.
Yeah.
So I'm cover cropped. Once it's plastic to plastic, I'm cover cropped very well. That cover crop comes up, the weed pressure is low.
Yeah.
So now we go into the fall of the first year, makes the plastic, well, we're still in the first year, it makes picking tremendously easier. You got those wide rows. My farm workers appreciate that. So it's a lot easier than trying to navigate down through this thin row. A year like this where you have some spoilage, now you can throw the spoilage out. You're not walking in the spoilage in the row middle. It's leaving a cleaner field. Now we go into the second year. That fall, we remove the plastic in the drip tube. We knock the bed down with a 6-foot 3-point hitch aggressive disc harrow to level it out.
Yeah. Just the bed.
Just the bed.
Yeah.
Again, the no-till drill goes through and just does the bedded and walkway area. It's just the right width. It does that area, whether it's rye or whatever cover crop we choose for that to put on.
Yeah.
For the later winter stuff we're taking out, the late tomatoes, we're lucky to get the rye to come up. But some of the land I already removed the plastic on, I might double crop it with something, beets or radishes or something. But I can also go through with oats and a cover crop tillage radish right now if I wanted to, and that would winter kill.
Yeah.
And then the rye that doesn't winter kill, I got to terminate it with some sort of herbicide.
Yeah.
Once it's terminated with the herbicide, then I run a subsoiler through, which breaks up if there's any hard pan, which there shouldn't be because my tire tracks are now my tire tracks for hopefully as long as I farm. And now subsoil it. I have a chisel plow I had. I recently bought another chisel plow. I chisel plow it. I use that same disc I used in the fall, which is fairly aggressive. 3 passes, as minimal tillage as possible.
Yeah.
And then I come back with my plastic layer. My plastic layer, years ago we installed the fertilizer hopper on it, so that takes care of my fertilizing situation for there.
Yeah.
And
you're talking on the second year spring.
Second year spring.
Yeah.
So now I go out with my plastic layer. Got the fertilizer hopper, so I don't have to broadcast fertilizer. I suppose if you wanted to feed the cover crop, you could. I did in a couple spots just because I have a drop spreader that was full. I only used some of it, so to get rid of the fertilizer, I figured I'd just run up one of those rows. So now my plastic is laid, ground all looks good. I still have those open wheel tracks or areas that are open to brown dirt. And I got options. I have a customized sprayer I made that has shields on it that I could either run over the whole plastic row and get both wheel tracks at a time, or now since I have that open area, I just run over. I don't spray I only spray one row at a time, but I'm only over the cover crop and I'm spraying that open soil.
Yeah.
Which is it's an okay option, but to try to get rid of herbicides, which it's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but in order to maybe lessen them, I decided that, and I thought about this for years, was putting some sort of seed mechanism, whether on what it was going to be.
We can walk and talk about the machine.
See that. This is the plastic. It was just a your ordinary rain flow raised bed plastic mulch layer.
Yeah, this is 2600 rainflow mulch layer.
Yeah. In order to see those soil strips that I'm talking about, I
created by the tires.
Yeah, this is left by the width that's tilled to the width that's plastic covered. I researched a few different mechanisms, and I came up with this is from the Gandy company, which has been around forever and ever and ever. These Gandy hoppers. This particular one, the fertilizer hopper was electric motor driven. This particular one is electric motor driven, but you can get a wheel drive for either of these if you wanted to. So we just added on to support the boxes here. The electric motor is geared, gear ratio. Then you got your openings, and with the gear ratio, that's how you choose your rate per acre. So this is dropping the seeds between where the bed is formed. It kicks some dirt out. And these shanks actually make the dirt looser for the back disc. Yeah. So underneath here, you're not going to see it. There's a piece of steel. So it shapes the bed and it kicks it out. And the seed is falling in front of that. So it kicks all that seed away from the bed. Then it comes back here made up with extra dirt. And when it goes on with the covering discs, it actually throws the mixed soil that has whatever seed you choose, which I chose oats. It throws it up on the edge